Well, good morning, good morning, or afternoon, depending on what time zone you are in. I am so excited to be here with you all. Welcome to the Latinas Represent 2022 Summit. We're so happy to have you here today. Latinas Represent is a national nonpartisan initiative on a mission, okay, to increase the number and diversity of Latinas in public office. And the purpose of this summit is to energize and encourage folks to step into their power, right? And more importantly, increase Latina political representation across this country. And that means in the boardrooms, in commissions, in elected office, wherever we are, we're here to represent. And that could be either through voting, running for office. There are many different ways, volunteering on a campaign, being an elected official, among other things, even a parent, council, a leader, and a school committee member, whatever it is, we're here to step into that power. And there are lots of ways that you can become more involved and support Latinas in leadership. So I hope that you do. So wondering who I am? So I am Counselor at Large Julia Mejia. I was the first Afro-Latina ever elected to the council here in the great city of Boston. And I'm super excited to be your moderator and also one of the co-hosts of this amazing event. We founded, my partner, Christy Lindor, and I founded an initiative called the Political Lab, which was to build capacity and get more people like us to run for office. And so we worked in partnership with Latinas Represent to host this event. So super excited to be here with you all. We have some very exciting panel discussions coming your way with some truly amazing Latina leaders. You can read more about them by checking and clicking on the speaker profile Zoom and look at their bios. And as you go through today's programming, please know that there will be closed captioning is available and that you can access it using the Zoom control panel, usually at the bottom of your screen. And we also encourage you to connect and engage with our speakers and our audience members via the chat in the main lobby and throughout each session. We would also, we're going to have moderators in each of those sessions who will be replying with all caps so that you know who is speaking to you. And please remember to be respectful as you engage with others. I always say we can agree to disagree without being disagreeable, so make sure you behave. And lastly, it's important for us to note that this is a nonpartisan initiative. Latinas Represent does not endorse or oppose any candidate, party, or platform. The opinions expressed during this event by moderators, speakers do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Latinas Represent. I want you all to let that soak in, okay? And then the last thing that I just wanted to end before I introduce our amazing keynote speaker is in 2015, I participated in my first Latinas Represent events. And at the time, I was still trying to find my way. I knew that I had a big mouth and I needed to figure out how I was going to use it. And being in this environment, seeing other Latinas who were in different positions, doing amazing work here in the city of Boston, I was so super inspired. And since 2015, I've gone on to start my own nonprofit organization, run for office. I only won by one vote, you guys. So you have to understand the power of one is real. And here I am today working alongside Latinas Represent on this national summit. So you want to talk about moving forward and creating space. So I hope that you get inspired today. I hope you step into that power and let everybody know that Latinas are here and we're here to stay. So with that, I want to introduce our first speaker, which is our keynote, Mónica Ramírez. And you guys are in for a treat. Mónica Ramírez is a AAA threat, okay? She's an attorney, an author, and an activist fighting for the rights of farm workers, migrant women workers, and the Latino community. She is the founder of Justice for Immigrant Women and co-founder of Alianza national campesinos, the Latinx House, and periodistas. Monica has received numerous awards, including the Harvard Kennedy's first Gender Equity Changemaker Award, okay, the Feminist Majority Global Women's Rights Award, the oh my lord, the Sin, girl, you're gonna have to tell people how to say that word when it's your turn to speak. The Symposium, I believe, 2018 Ingenuity Award and the Hispanic Heritage Award. Monica was named one of Forbes Mexico's 100 most powerful women in 2018. Forbes list, okay, you guys, caliber. In 2018, Time Magazine also included her in its 2021 Time 100 Next list, and People en Español recognized her as one of the 100 most powerful Latinos in 2021. You guys, this is a powerhouse in the building, okay? Monica's also an inaugural member of the Ford Global Fellowship. She serves as the board of directors of the National Women's Law Center, Friends of the Latino Museum, Care in Action, and she is a member of the Little Markets Activist Committee. My goodness, Mónica, you are my type of girl. Monica is a graduate of Loyola University, Chicago, the Ohio State University, Moritz College of Law, and Harvard Kennedy College School. Okay, Harvard. She lives in Ohio with her husband and son, and we are so incredibly grateful for your time and super excited to bask in your glory. Monica, take it away.
Julia, you are amazing. And I cannot believe that I get to spend part of my morning with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your leadership, for all of your incredible energy and passion and love for our community and for your city. We are so lucky to have you out there doing what you're doing. And you know what? Thanks for reading my bio. That's always like the most uncomfortable 2 minutes of my life, you know? But I'm here to share with all of you that the award and the reward for doing what we do in this world is being able to be in community and being able to dream the change and then see the change. So I am super thrilled to have the opportunity to spend some time with y'all this morning. What Julia maybe doesn't know, and I'm sharing it all with you here because I feel like part of my job is to share the history of Latinas Represent. And back in the day, I actually had the chance to be one of the folks who was helping to lead Latinas Represent. And Julia, what a road this has been, right? What a long road this has been. And so I'm going to just share with you some of my thoughts and some of my reflections about the way forward, because I think that's why we're all here today, is to think about what is our role and the way forward. So if you'll let me, first I want to thank Stephanie Lopez for her hard work to build Latinas Represent and to continue to grow it, and to everyone. But there's also some legacy, y'all. We need to know the history. We always need to know our history. And the history of Latinas Represent is that back in 2013, some incredible folks got together and they said, Latinas are a driving force in this country, politically, economically, socially. We are the centers of our communities, of our homes, of our workplaces, but we are underrepresented. We do not have the formal titles. We're not the Congress people that people are seeing. We're not in state legislatures. We're not the ones on the school board. Even though we might be the ones in the background doing all the work, hustling to make change happen, we aren't the ones who are holding those positions. And so, much love to Ambassador Swanee Hunt and to Catherine Archuleta, because the two of them who are BFFs, I don't know if y'all know that, they're BFFs, and they said, we want to do something. We want to make some change here. And so through the leadership of political parity and the National Hispanic Leadership Agenda, the decision was made to create what is Latinas Represent, which, even more exciting, that Latinas Represent is growing into its own organization. And so it became this project that was incubated that's now growing up into something that's a standalone. And I think that it's important for us to bring into the space some really key folks. So in addition to Swanee and to Catherine, we also have important people who helped to lay the foundation for this project, such as Nadia Farjod and Melody Gonzalez, and today state elected official in New York, Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, and Patty Totunzitle from Esperanza Unite. There were many, many people who came together to say, what will it take for us to build a community of action, a community of change, where Latinas have the tools and the resources that we need to step into our power fully, to be able to hold these positions, to be able to lead our community in a formal manner, and actually have a change to change the law that affects us every single day. So these folks got together and they launched what is Latinas Represent. And Julia was part of that in 2015. And along the way, there were other incredible leaders like Helen Torres from Hope and so many others across the country. And they raised their hands over and over and over again in Florida, in Texas, in Colorado, in Massachusetts, in states all over the country. They said, we want to be part of this because we understand that Latinas, which today we number almost 30 million across our country, of the 62 million Latinx folks in our country, we're 30 million strong. And they said, we're going to give our time, our energy, we are going to commit to building this community of practice, this community of action. And so that's why we're here today. We are here today because we stand on our ancestors' shoulders. We are the beneficiaries of the hard work of a lot of incredible people. And so I wanted to start by honoring them. And I want to talk about Latinas Represent. When Latinas Represent was named, it was a call to action and it was a statement. Okay. So right now, as you're listening, I want you to chat me. Tell me how you represent, right? Latinas Represent was a call to action to say, Latinas, we must represent. But it was also fact because Latinas have been, continue to be representing in lots of different ways. So I want to hear from you in the chat. How are you representing? How are you seeing other Latinas in your community representing? I'm going to share a little bit about my community. I come from the migrant farm worker community. And you know what? Migrant farm worker women across this country, they're showing up every day. They're representing because they feed us. They provide us with the nourishment. They actually literally sustain us. But we are representing in other ways too. I see you. I see you, Ms. Aguilar. Tell us how you're representing. Put it in the chat. So from Congress to school boards to everyday folks on the ground in community, we are representing. And you know, when Latinas Represent was created, it was about ensuring that Latinas had the information that we need to engage in politics. It was about connecting Latinas across the country to mentor other Latinas, to bring people up, right? Many of us, and maybe many of you, you've been the first, right, in the rooms. Some of you have been the first to hold the positions that you have in your schools, in your companies, in your nonprofits. Maybe you were the founders of nonprofits across the country. And Latinas Represent said, we don't want to only be the first. We don't want to be the only. We want to crack the door open wide, and we want to bring people along with us over and over and over again, because that's how we make change. The other, of course, key piece of the work was that we wanted to see what it would take to get Latinas to assume positions of leadership in their communities. That could be through political appointments, that could be running for office, that could be running the most important fundraiser in the town or the most important leadership program in the city, wherever you are. That might be becoming the spokesperson during crises, like our community, our siblings in Puerto Rico who are suffering because of the hurricane, and those in Florida. There are Latinas on the ground who are speaking, who are organizing, who are making change. And so part of the work of Latinas Represent is to make sure that we are supporting Latinas across our country to be best positioned to show our power. So as I mentioned, We are 30 million strong across this country. We represent 16% of the workforce. We're 12.6 million Latinas in the workforce today. And as I'm sure many of you know, we are among the most impacted by the global pandemic that we're still living through. Latinas were among the greatest number of people to be pushed out of the workforce during the pandemic because we were not in jobs that provided us with the kind of support that we needed. Latinas in our country, we still experience the widest pay gaps. We're among the most affected by the wealth gap. We have so many issues that we are confronting. And part of the work of being a Latina in leadership is making sure that people understand that we do not have a singular story and we do not have a single issue that is the priority issue for our community. We are impacted by workforce issues, by climate change, by immigration, by housing, by many, many issues. And our stories here in this country are complex and varied. Julia spoke about being the first Afro-Latina to be elected, right, and onto her council. Like, let's give her another round of applause. Like Julia, I also have been in the position of leadership opportunities around the country through my organizations and others, but I am a third generation Mexican American, and my story is different than recent immigrants to our country. We are a complex, rich community, and we are making offerings in many, many ways. And it's important for us to remember that while we might be talked about as a number in our society, we are not a monolith. We have never been a monolith. We will never be a monolith. And so the part that we have to take on as leaders in our country, the work that we have to do, and the reason that we need to continue to lead, to run for school board, to run for Congress, to run for state legislature positions, is because we bring the stories of our families, of our communities, and our ancestors to the tables. Research shows that when women are in political positions, the law that is passed often is law. There are laws that positively impact women and children across our country. Similarly, when Latinas or any other demographic are represented in Congress and state houses and school boards and other places, because we bring our full selves to the table, our lived experiences, we are able to have a different perspective, a different opinion about what needs to change in the systems and the rules and the laws. And we bring that experience and that knowledge forward, and we help to craft policies that will positively and meaningfully impact our lives. Now let's talk about the numbers, because we are not where we need to be in terms of the actual numbers. So right now, we are still underrepresented in Congress. There are 13 Latinas who are serving in the House of Representatives. We have one Latina senator. We have one Latina who's a non-voting member of Congress who serves Puerto Rico. So of all the members of Congress, Latinas represent just 3% of those who've been elected. Of course, we are serving in other ways, not just through political through elections and through elected positions, but we're also serving through political appointments, right? And I don't know if y'all know this, because I actually found it to be quite both interesting and it made me giggle because, of course, this is the truth. So, Latinas are among the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in this country. We are opening businesses. We still face some challenges because we're not receiving the capital that we should be receiving to keep our businesses open, but we are creating businesses, we are creating jobs. And so, of course, it makes sense that of the cabinet members, US cabinet members, there have been 6 Latinas who have served or are serving as cabinet members. And do you know what the number one role that these cabinet members have filled? Maybe you guessed it. Small business administration. Lógico, of course, because we are creating businesses. We know what it takes to create businesses. And you know what? Do you know another significant position in our US government that Latinas have been holding. We've been holding it down. US Treasurer, did you know that of the US treasurers in the United States, 7 have been Latina? You know, when I was growing up, I remember hearing stories that my mom would tell me because she was the English speaker in her family. You know, I come from my grandparents and great grandparents were migrant farm workers, and my great grandparents who raised my mom, they relied on my mom to help, you know, pay the bills and to interpret. And many of you probably have had the same experience. And so when my mom was a little girl, she became the family banker. She paid the bills. And I'm sure that there are many other Latinas across this country who've been the ones who've been paying the bills and keeping the family books. And so how amazing is it that we have been able to use that tremendous skill set that we have been able to harness and hone over the years by having Latinas serving as the highest, most important bookkeepers for our country as US Treasurer, right? And so these are political appointments. And there are many, many other political appointments that Latinas are holding across the country. But we need you to know that those appointments are there for you too, that you should be looking into what's available in your state, in your community. Perhaps you would serve on a board or a commission. You have all that you need to be able to seek out those opportunities. You are brilliant. You are strong. You are talented, and we are rooting for you, all of us. You know, I think it's important for us to not only talk about voting as the way for us to engage. And Helen Torres, who I mentioned to you earlier from Hope, and Carlos from the Latino Community Foundation in Colorado, he and I and a few others sat in a room a number of years ago when I was part of the leadership of Latinas Represent, and we started to think about what are the ways that we need to convey to Latinas about how to engage. And one of the things that we decided was that it's important for us to talk about what we call the civic engagement highway. And what that means is that in our society, there is a huge emphasis put on voting, and we need to vote. We need to register to vote. We need to vote. We need to get our community out to vote, our family, our friends, our neighbors, because that is participating in democracy. But we also need to know that on this civic engagement highway, there are many on-ramps and there are off-ramps. So some of those on-ramps are becoming a volunteer, donating to a campaign or a cause that you care about. Those are on-ramps. Raising your hand for a political appointment, seeking out information about a commission or a board, becoming active in your community on the ground through grassroots organizing or through a nonprofit. Those are on-ramps. That is all part of our civic engagement and what I like to call exercising our civic power. And, you know, maybe there are some off ramps. Maybe you stop volunteering with a particular organization because you've done that for a few years. And so perhaps you take the off ramp and you start to look for other ways to engage. Sometimes we take detours and our lives take us in different directions. And perhaps maybe we're not in a position to be able to serve on a council or to be able to volunteer for an organization. But we can still be involved. We can still engage by telling people about how to vote or you know, where to find information about voting, or by sharing information on our social media platform. All of those things, all of those ways add up. Those are all ways that we are flexing our civic power in this country. And every single one of us, we need to do that. We need to flex our civic power. We need to encourage our families and our friends and our coworkers to flex their civic power, because this democracy is ours and it will be strong. It will be strong if we continue to engage, to continue to share our opinions and our life experiences so that people can best understand the needs and the priorities of our community and the community members across our country. So what's next? So, you know, I'm the co-founder of an organization called Poderistas, which some of you might know. Maybe even some of you are part of our Poderistas familia. We are a sister organization to Latinas Represent. And what we found in creating Poderistas, myself and my other 9 co-founders, some of whom I'm sure you know, America Ferreira, Eva Longoria, Carmen Perez, Jess Morales Roquetto, Stephanie Valencia. There are 10 of us in total who came together and we said, people are not thinking about us as the political force that they should be thinking of us as, and we need to do something to change that. And we're not going to wait for people to come to find us at the 11th hour to try to figure out what we care about. We know that we are the change. We know that we have the power to drive change. And we also know that nobody is coming to save us. So we need to do what we can to save ourselves. And so with that in mind, in 2019, we created and we launched Poderistas. And what we found in the building of Poderistas was some really significant research. And the research tells us that Latinas, even though we are registered to vote at higher rates than our male counterparts, our male Latino counterparts, we are voting at a much smaller rate. And the research told us that Latinas across our country were experiencing what's been called a confidence gap because we didn't understand how significant our leadership is in our community, in our country. We didn't understand how much our leadership matters and how many changes we are making and that we are the force for change. And so we went to work to address this issue. And let me tell you that the response has been amazing because Latinas are showing up over and over and over again. And I want to talk about what showing up means. Showing up doesn't just mean making sure that you have your own voting plan, because all of you need to have your voting plan. And if you don't have your voting plan, you need to make it today. But not just that. We need to make sure that we are doing the work to investigate those opportunities for boards and for commissions and for other things. But we need to not just hold that information. We need to share it. We need to tell our hermanas, our amigas about these opportunities. We need to help shepherd them along the way as well. Our work, our collective work, the way that we show up is by lifting each other up, by celebrating each other, by elevating one another, by pushing together when there's something that we want to fight for that we have in common, and by helping our community members and others, our allies who are values aligned, who are fighting for the same kind of change that we're fighting for, but perhaps they are the ones who've gone out in the front line first. We need to be there in support. We need to link arms. And this isn't a one-time job. This isn't a once a year or once every other year job. This is an everyday job. The work of keeping our democracy strong and safe, that is everyday work. And so I am grateful to Latinas Represent for all that Stephanie and everyone is doing to call on you, to call you in, to ask you to share your talents, your wisdom, your skill, your experience, and your knowledge, because you are the change, and we believe in you, and we will be by your side. But we need to make sure that this feeling, this understanding of our power and our ability to drive change, that people feel that all across the country. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you're doing. Keep pushing, keep pulling each other up, keep celebrating one another, and know that just as you have our backs as Latina leaders across this country, we will have your back too. Our work is the work of bringing up our community. And by bringing up our community, we will help to make this country stronger. We will help to make our country best positioned to be fair and to be just for every single one of us, including the girls, the young women, the children who are living on the margins. That is our work. And that is the work that I task each and every one of you with. Thank you so much.
All right. How lucky are we? Where are we? I don't know if I'm still here, but I am going to go with it just in case you're still with me right now. Wanted to just thank Mónica for opening us up and grounding us in our power. We're going to be transitioning over to the next panel. And yes, I am your moderator for the first panel. So hopefully we will find our way there. I am going to meet you there next.